Hey y'all, Drew Schaefer here. I'm going to do a rundown of my top 10 photos of 2022. So these photos aren't necessarily going in order from 1 to 10, like this was the greatest, this was the worst. They're just sort of like almost in order of the year. So we're going to start off the year with Costa Rica. I really thought this photo was cool because I kind of just gave a guy a bunch of money. I wasn't even sure if it was the right amount, and I took a kayak out in the middle of the Costa Rican Ocean, and I was kind of 2 miles out at sea, and I'd stolen my dad's Apple Watch just in case I actually got stranded out there. And the rowing that I had to do to get back was insane. It took me like an hour because I was going against the wind. So I just remember this photo being really cool. I liked how the end of the boat was lined up with the sun, and then you had the mountains in the background. It was just a really special photo. Next up, we have Aspen. So traveling to Aspen was one of the craziest moments, I think, of everyone on that trip's lives. We drove through the worst snowstorm of the year. It was terrible. We drove 27 hours from Nashville after a canceled flight, and we're nuts. We drove in a Kia Sorento, and this photo of my buddy Johnny climbing up this peak in the Aspen Highlands was just, I thought, was really special because we had traveled so far and so long to get there that the moment of us traveling up that mountain looking over the edge and side to side was just really cool. It was just something that I don't think I'll ever want to do again. A 27-hour road trip to Aspen was tough, and it was pretty stupid to do it in the car that we did. But this photo I thought was great because you got the wisp of the mountains on the side above Johnny's head. He's in a red jacket against the white snow, which always looks really good. He's not no one's really in the center, which is kind of fine to me, actually. Like, there's a leading line of the trail in front of him, which I like. I just thought it was really cool because we're on the peak of a mountain and we're about to go down an absolute drop of a face. I mean, this just doesn't happen every day, and you don't get this in Ohio. So doing something as crazy as this and being able to take photos of my friends along the way, that was pretty cool. Next up, we've got Montana. So Montana was awesome. It was something totally different than Colorado or Aspen, but this photo was a long exposure photo of my uncle's house. You've got the stars in the background, you've got a little bit of clouds. I specifically wanted the lights on in his house, I remember, because if the house lights are turned off, then it doesn't really give a whole lot of feel to the photo. So I really wanted his house lights on, actually, during this photo. But the stars you could see at night were just crazy. I used a tripod. I think I did like a timer of 30 seconds, f2.8. My manual focus was on the stars. I had a manual white balance. My ISO was probably 2500 with a 2-second delay. So that's how I took that photo, but then just did my own edits on that. But I just thought that was a really, really cool photo. So I've been working on a film for the last couple years called The Long Way Forward. And one night I looked at my girlfriend and I said, I don't think I have enough footage. And she said, well, let's just go back. So this photo right here was really special because I actually had to go back to Alaska to get more footage. And this was flying over the Denali State Park, which was one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. I mean, if you want Lord of the Rings type mountains and National Geographic type shots, this is the plane tour that you do. And I don't think the film would succeed without this footage. So getting a photo like this out of the plane window was really special for me. And I know the plane windows or the plane wing is in it, but I actually think it looks really cool. And those mountains are just insane. I could spend a week out there and you'd never discover it all. I really want to go back and snowboard something out there. When we were flying by, we would see skiers and people climbing up the mountains with skis on their back to ski down, and I'm like, that sounds awesome. So this photo is just really special because, it it showed that I had to go back to Alaska, and that's okay, but I'm going to make this film, and I think it's going to be pretty great. Next, we've got the Memorial Tournament. So the Memorial Tournament, for those of you that don't know, is a huge PGA golf tournament, and I was one of the head photographers for it. And this photo I have dreamed about as a kid growing up in Columbus, Ohio for years. I've always seen, golfers like Tiger Woods coming up the 18th fairway and hitting it off of right here. I've played this course, and all I wanted to do was hit the ball from this spot where this guy's at, except I couldn't because I'm not very good at golf and my ball was in the woods. But I think this is one of the most beautiful 18th greens in golf, and obviously I'm biased because I grew up in Columbus. Just being able to get this shot of Billy Horschel winning the Memorial was super special with the crowd in the background. I knew this shot was coming up. I think I was on like the 15th hole, and I was supposed to follow him all day. My job was to follow Billy Horschel or the leader, whoever was leading, all day on Sunday. And I remember leaving my post like 2 or 3 holes early from him to get this shot because I knew where it was and I knew every photographer would want it. So I made sure to get there early, get this shot. I used a pretty high f-stop, wanted everything in focus as much as I could. Yeah, this is one of the most special photos I've ever taken, and it's the background on my laptop. Next up, we've got Mont Tremblant, which is a ski resort mountain town in Canada, and I was on the chairlift going up in the summer, which I'd never been to a ski resort town in the summer, and it was pretty cool. And I took this photo of this lone tree with a lake behind it in the mountains, and I just thought it was really cool. Canada's great. Mont Tremblant is a really beautiful place. I had never really had any powerful tree shots before, so I thought that was pretty cool, and it was a really great trip with my girlfriend and her family, so that's why I liked it. Next, we've got Ocracoke Island. This is a photo of my cousin paddleboarding off into the ocean. Ocracoke Island is a really hard place to get to. It is like 17 hours of driving from Columbus through North Carolina into the Outer Banks and then taking a ferry onto this little island. And that little island was founded by a man named Edward Springer, who is actually my great grandpa. And my middle name is Edward after him, and my grandpa, who is named after him. So this is pretty cool to get an awesome photo of my cousin paddleboarding off into the ocean off Ocracoke Island. It's a time well spent with family, so that's why I remember it the most. But I really liked how he and the clouds almost line up. I really like having tiny people in my photos. I feel like when the person is so big in the photo, you can't imagine yourself as them, but when they're tiny and almost silhouetted, you're like, subconsciously, that could be me standing right there. So then you actually like the photo more. So that's why I like this photo. And me and him like to do a lot of crazy things. So it's always a good time with Chip. Next up, we've got kind of a 3-layered photo. It's of Quinn, 92, when I shot him at Breakaway Music Festival here in Columbus. I've shot him a couple times. He's a great dude, but it was just really cool to get the feeling of shooting a show again. I love shooting shows. It's one of my favorite things I do as a photographer and a videographer. And I remember just running around with 2 cameras strapped to me, one with a glide cam and a full film setup, and another with my photo camera, and grabbing all these really cool shots, and then getting to see him interact with the chain smokers after, and the crowd and everything. It was just really good to feel like I was a concert videographer, photographer again. And I really love this photo. Why I like it from a photo perspective is you can tell that he's in the action. He's singing hard in the first photo, and then he's got his hands up, which shows action. You can definitely see that there's a big crowd there. In the bottom photo, you've got a leading line leading up to the stage with a big crowd. So you can't go wrong with that. You might have seen this photo in my last thumbnail. It's actually an iPhone photo, but this is the first time I was a director of photography for a big film and a big documentary. It was just really cool to have a crew that I was managing and a director that trusted me to create his vision. This was just such a big moment in my career. It was the first time I was a director of photography, and it was the first time that a director trusted me to bring his vision to life. Everything from a lighting standpoint, a crew standpoint, settings, camera. I mean, it was just such a great experience. And I've worked on movie sets before as camera operator, and I've edited for major documentaries, and I'm directing my own, but I've never directed for a film of this magnitude. So it was really cool to have all that pressure on me and the trust in me. So this was just a really big moment in my career. All right, last but not least is the Eiffel Tower in Paris. This Eiffel Tower photo I took off of a boat. This was with my girlfriend and her family, and it was a really cool photo because I didn't know that we were gonna get this close to the Eiffel Tower at night, and it did that sparkle thing, which everybody likes. So that was really fun. And I actually had to use a really slow shutter speed and stand really still, almost like a long exposure, but not quite, to get the perfect light out of this, because it's really hard to take night photos if you're not standing still, and I'm on a boat trying to balance, so that was tough, but I thought it was really cool. I didn't know that the Eiffel Tower had lights spinning on the top of it, so that was cool. You know, it's just a great photo. I thought the edit came out, yeah, nothing more to say on that one, really. It's kind of like a mini long exposure photo. If I had to sum it up, I used autofocus, I'm balancing on a boat. I really liked that it was doing that sparkle thing at night. I thought the edit came out great. The lights spinning on the top was great. Can't go wrong with the Eiffel Tower. So, all right, thank you guys for watching. And if you want to see another video, click down below. Actually, wait, we're not done. One last photo. This is an honorable mention. This was a picture at the Louvre Museum in Paris. I thought this was really cool because my mom had actually sent me a picture of this and a bunch of other photos. And she said, if while you're in Paris, if you can try to recreate any of the photos that I took 30 years ago, that would be really cool, and we can compare photos. And I took almost the exact same photo that my mom did 30 years later. So I thought that was really special, and thanks, Mom, for the inspiration. Maybe I got my photo skills from my mom, who knows? But all right, guys, thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked that video of my photography from 2022. If you have any questions or comments on how I took these photos or settings or anything like that, DM me on Instagram or shoot me a comment down below. I always try to respond if I can. And as always, if you like this video, throw a like down, maybe subscribe if you're into something like that. And I will see you guys hopefully in another video. All right, cheers, or au revoir.